Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you are here for the first time, welcome. You have arrived at exactly the right moment, because today, we are not simply telling a story. Today, we are going back in time. More than 1400 years. To a world very different from the one we live in. And yet, a world that will feel surprisingly familiar. A world full of injustice, full of inequality. Full of people who had power, and used it to crush those who had none. And into that world, one man walked. Without wealth, without an army. Without a government behind him. Without a single tool of power that the world recognizes. And he changed everything. Today we talk about one of the most powerful, most influential, and most deeply studied human beings in the entire history of this planet. His name is spoken more than any other name on earth. Every single day. By more than 1 billion people. Across every continent, every language, every culture. More than 1400 years after he left this world. His words are still followed. His example is still lived. His light has never gone out. This is the story of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. His mother named him Muhammad, which means, the praised one. People asked her, why not name him after his father? She said, because I want him praised, not just by people on earth, but by the one in the heavens. She could not have known how true those words would become. He was sent to the desert as a young child, to a kind woman named Halima, who later said she had never seen blessings like the ones that came with this child. Her goats gave more milk. Her animals grew stronger. Her home felt different. But then he was returned to his mother. And when he was just 6 years old, she died, wind, silence. No father, no mother. 6 years old, alone in the world. And yet, he did not cry to the world. He walked quietly, with dignity. Carrying a sadness no child should carry. He went to his grandfather, who died 2 years later. He went to his uncle Abu Talib, a kind man, a poor man, who loved him more than his own children. And even then, as a boy with nothing, the people of Mecca had a name for him. Al-Amin, the trustworthy one. He worked as a shepherd, watching sheep in silence. Every prophet before him had also tended flocks. Because shepherding teaches you patience, it teaches you to be gentle with the weak. It teaches you to lead without forcing. He was being prepared, he just didn't know it yet.
He was 40 years old, and something was pulling him away from the city, away from the noise, the idol-worshipping, the cruelty. There was a cave on a mountain called Hira, just outside of Mecca. He would go there alone, for hours, for days, sitting in the dark, thinking, praying, asking the universe, where is the truth? One night, he was alone, in the cave. The silence was heavy. And then, a light, a voice. Iqra, read. I cannot read, he said. Read. I cannot read. Read in the name of your Lord who created. It was the angel Gabriel. And in that moment, one man's life, and the direction of all of human history, changed. Forever. He ran home, shaking, trembling, saying, cover me, cover me. And the woman who held him was Khadija, his wife, his partner, his first believer. She didn't laugh. She didn't doubt. She held him close and said, By Allah, He will never disgrace you. You carry the burdens of others. You speak only truth. Allah will never leave you. This is what real support looks like. This is what real love sounds like. The message began to spread, one person, then 10, then hundreds, and the powerful men of Mecca felt something they were not used to feeling: fear. They mocked him, called him mad, a liar, a magician. They threw garbage at his door. They placed animal filth on his back while he prayed. They sent their children to throw stones at him in the street. He never hit back. He cleaned himself and prayed for them. Let that sit for a moment. The people throwing garbage at him, he was praying for them. But the powerful men of Mecca weren't done. They tried offering him everything: money, power, the most beautiful women in Arabia, a throne. Just stop talking. He listened to their offer, and then he said, "If you placed the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I would not stop." So they tried something darker. They signed a document: no trading with his family, no marriage with them, no food, no water, no help. For 3 years, the Muslims were exiled to a small valley, eating leaves, chewing leather, children crying from hunger at night, and the Prophet heard every cry. He felt every empty stomach, and he never gave up. But the hardest moment of his life had not yet come. Stay with me, because what happens next will break your heart, and then rebuild it completely. After the boycott ended, 2 deaths came, one after the other. First, Abu Talib, the man who raised him, protected him, stood by him when the world didn't, gone. Then, Khadija, his wife, his comfort, his first believer, the woman who held him when he trembled in the cave, gone. This year became known as al-Huzn, the year of sorrow. And then, alone, he walked to a new city, hoping they would listen, hoping they would believe. Instead, they sent children to throw stones at him. He ran, he bled, he sat under a tree, alone, wounded, far from home. And with blood in his sandals and tears on his face, he raised his hands to the sky and said, "I will Allah, I complain to you of my weakness, my lack of support, how small I am in the eyes of people. If you are not angry with me, I do not care." That night, Allah answered him, not with words, with something no human had ever experienced. He was taken, body and soul, to Jerusalem, to the heavens, through 7 skies, past the angels, past the prophets, to a place where even the angel Gabriel could not follow. "If I go 1 step further," Gabriel said, "I will be destroyed. But you are invited." The most broken man on earth was the most honored in the heavens. Let this be the turning point. Remember that. When you feel forgotten, when you feel like no one sees your pain, the heavens see everything.
Years passed. Battles were fought. People were lost. The Muslims were chased from their city. They built a new life in Medina, from nothing. And slowly, the world began to change. And then came the day when the man who had been chased out of Mecca marched back in, with 10,000 people behind him. The people of Mecca stood before him, terrified. They expected revenge. They deserved revenge. He looked at them, the people who had tortured his followers, killed his companions, thrown garbage at him for years. And he said, "Today is the day of mercy. Go, you are free." That day, hundreds wept and accepted Islam, not because they were forced, because they had never seen a human being act like that before. He died years later, in the arms of Aisha. His last words, a prayer for his people. He was buried in the room where he lived. He left no gold, no palace, no empire of land. Only a message, only a light that is still burning, right now, as you listen to this. One man, one mission, one God. and the world was never the same again.